What's up, everybody? I'm Elisa, the Funky Latina, and welcome to Let's Hear It. This is where I interview fellow music lovers as well as artists I'm currently listening to. Tonight, I'll be interviewing The Color Brown, an artist from Puerto Rico who's currently living in LA. So, if you have any questions, send them over and I'll get to them at the end of the interview. In the meantime, I'd love to see where you're tuning in from, so drop an emoji to represent your city. Hi, how are you
Hola,
doing?
hola.
I'm doing
Hey,
well.
how you
Thank you so much
doing?
for joining me this evening.
Of
Awesome. Well,
course,
I'm
always.
actually a pretty new fan. Been listening to you for a little while, but for anyone who's a new fan or just getting to know you, could you just briefly introduce yourself? Tell us where you're from, where you grew up.
Of course, of course. My name is The Color Brown, un rapero, compositor, músico puertorriqueño. I was born and raised in Carolina, Puerto Rico. Este, viví la mayoría, viví como 10 años en Chicago. So definitely always
Mm.
representing that city as well. Carolina, Chicago, and now I'm living in LA. It's been like 7 years
Right.
living in the city of Angels. And yeah,
That's
that's
awesome.
a little
Okay.
bit of
I got
myself.
quite a few questions from the fans, and now it makes sense why they were asking about Chicago. Awesome.
Oh,
So
okay.
I'd love to
Dope,
know,
dope.
like, how did you get started in the music industry? And also, where did like the name The Color Brown come from?
Oh, that's a good question. I would say I started doing
Mm.
music really early in my teen years when I was like 16, 17, collaborating with some of my favorite, to this day, some of my favorite rappers in Puerto Rico, Skeptic Musica. Um, Essentially, that's where everything started. I moved to Chicago to go to college, and music
Okay.
became kind of like my outlet to kind of explain the life that I was living outside of Puerto Rico. I was born and raised in Carolina, and when I got to Chicago, it was actually the same year that
Oh
Kanye West was
wow.
dropping Graduation to many people, probably like his greatest piece of work to this day. And like hip hop
Yeah.
kind of like got me when I got to Chicago, and I started writing with the intention of actually dropping bars and flowing
Hmm.
in a beat. I used to be mainly a poet when I was in Chicago. Even I mean, when I was in Puerto Rico, even when I got to
Hmm.
Chicago, that's how I first started as a poet. But then being in Chicago, like the hip hop, like the American hip
Yeah.
hop, kind of like got me, and and that's how everything started. So I would say like my roots as a hip hop artist started in Chicago, and that's why it makes sense that people were asking
That's
questions about Chicago. Probably my
awesome.
people from Chicago, like always
That's
lovely
so cool. I
to hear
think
about them.
that that is very relevant in your music. It makes sense now that, growing up in Puerto Rico and then, making music in Chicago, which is like a heavy, like just cultural city. So to have that influence of hip hop and then to move to LA,
Mhm.
like you have like so many like journeys that to be able to give your story through music is amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say that I was I just saw one of the comments, like one of my boys, like Moncho de Puerto Rico. He said Rubén es Cocolo. Like, and it's true. Like, I was born and raised en salsa. Yo escuchando, o sea, escuchando esto La Voz, la Sonora Ponceña, El Gran Combo. Like, if you think about it, salsa has a lot of elements of hip hop, like a lot of like improvising in the lyrics, and if you listen to Hector Lavoe and all of these people in
Oh no.
my little nephew was calling me. My bad. If you think about Chicago, like it's very
Yeah.
similar to what salsa was. Salsa was like people from like the musicians that do salsa. Essentially, like they are
Yeah.
improvisers. Like when you talk about a soneo, like they're improvising from the top, from the dome. and Chicago is very similar. So a lot of Chicago like rappers like Lupe Fiasco, Kanye West, Rhymefest, a lot of those rappers introduced me to hip hop. And essentially a lot of when you think about hip hop from Chicago is very
Mhm.
lyric centric, and that
Yeah.
was perfect for me because that's how I feel. Like I was introduced to this mode, to this to music because of salsa, and muchos salseros lo que hacen es hablar de la vida and improvise. So it was a perfect mix, like Chicago with hip hop, Puerto Rico with salsa. That led me to who I am now, and that's how it all started, and that's why I'm the color brown. And the name of the color brown, the reason I was named the color brown is I remember when I was in college, I went to Chicago for college, and I was taking a sociology class, and this teacher kept referring to people of color as black and brown folks. So African Americans,
Mhm.
black, brown, Latinos, black and brown folks. And for the first time in my life, I realized that I wasn't just Puerto Rican. I was
Yeah.
somewhere else, being something else. And I just took on, essentially, I just took on that label that was put onto me as brown, and I
Yeah.
realized like that's who I want to be now. Like I'm in a country that labels me as brown,
Yeah.
so I'm gonna be proud of that
Absolutely.
shit.
I think
Sorry, I don't know
you
if
can
I
do it
can.
if you want.
Can I
It's fine.
curse? I don't,
This is life.
okay, good. So I just took on that label and made it positive,
Yeah,
and
no,
that's
I
why
think
my
that's
name is the color
beautiful.
brown.
And I think that's also shows kind of the power of music is that, a lot of people might not identify as being Puerto Rican or Mexican or whatever, but they can like for myself, I'm not fluent in Spanish, but I'm 100%
Yeah,
Puerto Rican, Mexican, Latina. Like I don't let any of that hold me back. And so I think it's so important to embrace that and turn it into something positive. It's like people want to call us these things maybe that are negative, and it's like, listen, we are like such a powerful group of people. And
I
we're
agree.
making incredible art, we're making incredible music, and now it's cool to be Latino. Now it's cool to be the color brown or the color black.
It's not only cool.
Mm-hmm.
It's essentially what it is to be American. Like if you think about it, like everybody's listening to Bad Bunny. Todo el mundo está escuchando reggaetón. Todo el mundo quiere ser como nosotros
Yeah.
porque that's just how we were born. Like we were born with, como dice Bad Bunny,
Exactly.
like le falta sazón. And we were born with that sazon. Like our mothers were cooking with that sazon since we were
Yeah. It's
a newborn. So like we just know how to be that. So it's exciting. It's
yeah,
definitely exciting to be
it's
a
exciting,
Latino
and I
right now,
think
for
too,
sure.
that being Latino, being Afro Latina that is our superpower. That's what makes it super
Hmm.
special.
I agree.
So since we're talking about that, I kind of want to go into my next question is like, what is your current opinion of, the like Latinx music and this new wave? I feel like we're having a kind of a cultural renaissance where like Bad Bunny's the number one stream artist in the world, and we have so much like beautiful
Hmm.
music happening. Do you feel maybe like pressure or pride? What do you think about what's going on right now in the music industry?
You know, I'm not gonna lie, Funky. When you send me the list of questions, I was like, that's a dope ass question. Like, I will tell you this. Like, I was listening to my two like work colleagues today talking about going
Oh yeah.
to Taylor Swift's concert and how much they were gonna spend on that concert. Like, they were saying like, oh, the cheapest we can get right now is eight hundred
Yeah.
dollars. Bob Bunny changed that. Like his last tour was the tour that really changed like the music
Yeah.
industry when it comes to like actually doing a tour. Like he was the one that was like charging six, seven, eight
Mhm.
hundred dollars, and the market was there for it. And the reason the market was there for it is because essentially like he was he was showing everybody else our culture. And I think now every other artist is like taking advantage of that, because now essentially he set a floor to what it is to
Yeah.
be an artist right now. But the reason that there is a floor is because
Yeah.
of who we are. You know what I'm saying? So there's definitely pressure on that. There's definitely pressure, and not only because of Bad Bunny, but because of the talent that is coming from Latin America. I can tell you about Puerto Rico. Like, there's a lot of artists that people don't even know about in the U.S.
Yeah.
that are amazing artists coming out of Puerto Rico. Like, talking about people like Right Now. I mentioned a Skeptic earlier, like one of the best like producers, in my opinion, and in not only in Puerto Rico but in Latin America, and that's always been the case. It's just that now, because we have somebody like an exponente. I don't know how
Yeah.
to say it in English. I didn't say exponente. Like somebody like a representation of who we are is so well known. Now we're starting to learn about him and learn about like what we can produce on a daily
Yeah.
level. Like, for example, the person like the um the collective, the group that I made
Mhm.
this collaboration with, Cometa, is like it's a predominantly Puerto
Oh,
Rican like
cool.
group in Los Angeles. But there are like there's people in the collective that are from all over Latin America. And that's just a little bit of an example of the talent that is available for everybody to hear on a daily basis. When you talk about the streaming services like Spotify, iTunes,
Yeah.
like it's very easy to consume that now. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, there's pressure because there's a lot of talent. There's a lot of talent. So you gotta maintain your focus, and you gotta maintain being a good artist. Um,
Yeah.
but there's mainly pride. There is pressure, but there's more pride than anything, because I'm very proud to be from an island that is producing some of the
Oh,
best
yeah,
artists in the world right now.
absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
I think it's so cool because I think if you've never been to Puerto Rico or you're not familiar with like the music scene, um, you have like this idea or stereotype, and then to see artists like Raúl Alejandro, Bad Bunny, Young Chimmy, like all these artists who are like selling out all these different places, and like
Hey, what you know
what's
about Young
funny? I
Chimmy
learned
though?
about him from one of my younger friends. He's like super into like he only listens to Spanish rap, and so he actually put me on.
Yeah, yeah. Esos son de los diablos de
Yeah, so
Belén.
I'd love to talk a little bit more about Puerto Rico. You said believe you grew up there, and so like what was that like, did you start your music career there, or was it more when you got to Chicago?
No, I mean, like Moncho mentioned earlier on the comments, I catch a glimpse of him. I was born and raised in Puerto Rico, and if you're born and raised in Puerto Rico, you're born with music every day. Like it's just part of your culture. And I think the one thing that really like introduced me to music was salsa. So that was my first interaction to it. Both my dad and my mom, both of them they both had the same aspirations that I had when I was little, to be like a musician. My mom did it through the church, and my dad did it through the streets. And they're the most unpaired
Yeah.
pair that you can like imagine. You feel me? But um, that's just part of who you are when you grow up in Puerto Rico. Like it's music is
Yeah.
just as important as food. So growing up there, like the 17 years that I was there, it was like
Yeah.
an unpaid internship to who I am now. It's a very it's I can't deny how important it was, that time in my life, and because of the music that I was exposed to. It was all about writing. It was all about lyrics, because my dad was very, very big on not only
Mm,
salsa but música de protesta, which is like talking about Silvio Rodriguez
yeah.
and Cuba, and Pablo Milanés in Cuba. So it was very important to me to whatever I brought to an audience was
Yeah.
like when you hear it, you can think about it, you know. So even though like we were born with rhythm and rhythm and blues, essentially we were born with rhythm and blues. Like I was born into a very lyrically inclined type of music, and that is what shaped me
That's
as an
amazing. I
artist.
love that. And I think too, if you can talk a little bit more about your single Wow, I feel like there's obviously a lot of influence from Puerto Rico in that. Um, I posted it on my IG story and like I got so many comments and people were like, "Oh my God, I love this song." One of my followers was like, "Oh, we played this song at my team meeting this morning to like get started for the day." So it was really cool to hear and see the feedback from that. But can you tell us like what inspired that song and like what else you have going on musically wise?
So Guao was actually a una colaboración, like a collaboration with probably one of my favorite like bands right now. Their name are Cometa, which is a is I love their tagline. It's like tu colectivo de música favorito. Like they're your favorite
Yeah.
musical collective. Like, and it's true, man. Like it's a group of artists and musicians in LA that are amazing. Like they all individually are probably some of the
Wow.
top artists in LA. And they got together and they put together this collective along with AC Meta, uno de los mejores um, rapero from Puerto Rico. Um, and we have collaborated before with una canción, like a song
That's
that's
okay.
that's named El Problema. I'm sorry
No,
that
I
I keep
speak
going like to
Spanglish.
English
I
and
only
Spanish,
speak, so I'm fluent in
Um,
English, Spanglish, reggaeton, and Selena. Those are the four languages I speak. So it's fine.
okay. I love that. I love that. So Cometa is to me probably
Wow.
the best band right now out there. You know what I'm saying? And I had the opportunity to collaborate with them again, and the way that this came out is like one of my really good friends. He's from Ball Heights. I'm a Ball Heights resident in LA, and he's Mexicano de Guadalajara. And we were talking about something one day, and he told me the phrase, "Yo no soy perro, pero wow." And I was like, "Holy shit, that is hilarious! Like, why have I never heard of that?" You know. And one day, like, I actually like accompany the people from Cometa that were like recording something else in another, for something else.
Hmm.
And I was talking to AC Meta, and I told him about this phrase. He's like, "Yo no soy perro, pero wow." And he literally had the same reaction I had. He's like, "Bro, that is funny."
Yeah.
And we were like, "Bro, we should make it a song." And literally in 2019, that same day that I said that, the first edit of
Yeah.
the song came out because we had to. We were there and we were like, "Bro, like this could be a song." And it actually like in our in our minds, it was something very Latino. Like it could be a merengue, it could be a salsa, but it wasn't really established yet. So we had our first demo, which Randy, which is the producer of Cometa, he still has on his computer. Uh, that one was the first time that we talked about Yo no soy perro pero
Wow.
wow, and that was back in 2019. Before Bad Bunny came out with like Después de la Playa, like all of that, you know. Like, I'm not saying that we're better than Bad Bunny. We would never say that. But I'm saying like we were experimenting with that little
Yeah.
Latino flavor for a while now. And, God, yo digo, el tiempo de Dios es perfecto. Like God's time is perfect, and this was the time that we had to do it and to drop it and to include Yomar Malavé, which is the guy that actually directed our music video, and we're super proud of what we have, and already talking to people in Mexico and Colombia about it,
No, I
and
think it's
they're
a
very
great,
excited
great
about it
song.
for
It's such
sure.
a fun song. And like, even if you don't speak Spanish or understand Spanish, like music is all about the way it makes you feel. And so I think that's why so so many reactions were positive. We're like, oh my God, I love this song. I'm like, well, then into the interview, follow the Color Brown
Yeah,
on
yeah.
Instagram. And I think, music is just so powerful. Like, it's summer. We want to hear good music. It's so hot outside. And so I think the timing's perfect. And even the music video is really fun to watch. Like,
Oh, oh yeah. Well, the idea of the music video was to
yeah.
be like a family time, you know. AC Meta was talking about it with me in an interview like 2 days ago. It was just like we didn't really even plan it. We said like we want to make it a family time amongst our friends, and everybody that you see in the
Cool.
video is actually our friends. We didn't really plan it. We weren't like, hey, you got to do this, you got to do that. Everybody was just having a good time listening to the song, you know. So it wasn't hard to collaborate with Cometa. Those are my brothers. Even before we actually started on our individual journeys, even before Cometa was Cometa, and even before the
That's cool.
Color Brown was the Color Brown, we were a family, you know. So it's beautiful,
Yeah,
and I love what we
that's
have.
definitely a good song to bring people together. Like it's fun and it's hard not to move when you're listening to it.
I'm glad. Betty Fountains just said a genuine artist. Like that's for real. Like that's how I feel. You know, like that's who I am. I like to be a genuine
That's
artist,
awesome.
and
Well, I
I
have a
appreciate that. Thank you
couple
for
more
that.
questions. I definitely want to get to the questions that I got from some of your fans and followers. But before we get into that, do you have any questions for me?
No, I mean I love what you're doing. I was like your name came about because of mutual friends, and like what you're doing is amazing. Like we need more of the type of platforms that you're bringing up.
Thank
So
you.
like thank you for doing what you're doing, and just know that it's not going unrecognized. We see it
Oh
on
my
the
God, thank
community,
you
and
so
we
much. Yeah, I'm
appreciate you
like,
for that.
I love what I do. It's so much fun. And I'm like, we need more funky Latinas. Like,
Hell yeah.
awesome. So some of the
Hell yeah.
questions I got
Hell
from your
yeah.
fans were, well, one of the top questions I kept getting was, when are you coming back to Chicago? Or coming, I think, for a performance with me.
Damn. I mean, look at me. Like I'm look at this. Chi-town always. Like I'm rarely home, but I'm always representing. Like
Mhm.
I was born and raised in Puerto Rico, but Chicago to me is my second home. So ya sabes, cuando me quieran invitar para allá, déjenme saber, yo le caigo y
Love
la vamos
that.
a pasar
And then
cabrón.
another question I got, everyone's asking about all your different homes. What's one of your favorite places in Puerto Rico?
Damn,
Yeah.
that's a loaded question. Um, I'll tell you this, like my secret spot that I only tell locals and deep 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 friends. Um, La Playa Vacía Talega
Mhm.
in Loiza is I'm gonna get emotional and everything because it's like I was that's the beach out of all the beaches in Puerto Rico that my like whenever my mom wanted to clean the house and he just told my dad like just take the kids out of here,
Yeah.
like he will take us there in Vacía Talega, and I have very beautiful memories there with some of my deepest friends. We had some amazing conversations in that sand. So Vacía Talega in Piñones is probably my
Wow.
favorite spot in Puerto Rico, just based on the memories that it evokes.
Yeah.
But you can't go wrong. You can't go wrong going to PR. You can ask anybody in this life if they've been to Puerto Rico. I can see
Yeah.
Sandrita saying over there, "Go Lakers." She's been to Puerto Rico a couple times. She already wants to move there. So um, I would say, if you haven't visited the island, take some time and visit the island.
I
It's,
I
it's an
agree.
amazing
And take
place.
me with you if anyone's planning a trip. I'll go. I'll literally go at a moment's notice. Awesome. So, a few more questions. One question I ask all of my artists that I interview is, what was the first concert you went to? If that you can remember.
La, yeah, I do remember. El primer concierto que yo fui was in Puerto Rico, was to
Wow,
see
that's
Maná.
amazing.
Yeah, I saw Maná in Puerto Rico in el Roberto Clemente, and it changed my life because I never thought that you can have fun the
Yeah.
way that you can have fun in a concert. You know, in Puerto Rico, everybody starts drinking when you're like fucking 12, 13. Like nobody gives a
Yeah.
fuck. They don't even look at your ID anymore. So you get that experience very early on. But when I went to my first concert and I realized what music can do to you, it changed my life. Like it moved me in different ways. So to this day, I still remember that time and
That's
probably probably
amazing.
an
Yeah,
amazing
like
experience.
I'm I like all my that's where all my money goes to is like live music, going to concert, traveling to go to concerts, because like there's nothing like else like it. For me, that's like my favorite thing to do. And part of the reason I started, the Funky Latina. So totally I can relate to that.
Hell yeah.
Awesome.
Hell
Well, before we wrap
yeah.
up, can you tell us, like what do you have going on? How can we follow you? How can we support you?
Gracias, gracias. I appreciate that. Well, you can find me in all the music platforms as the Color Brown. On Instagram, I'm underscore the Color Brown underscore. Um, Ahora mismo, like this year for me is just gonna be all but singles for everybody. So I'm trying to drop a single every
Mhm.
month. So the next single is coming up. I'm already working with some of my really dear friends here in LA to drop my first album next year in 2024. Shout out to Cosme de Cometa, Jonathan de Cometa, Morocho de Cometa, like some of
Mhm.
the people that are pushing me for that. Um, and honestly, just hit me up. Like if you just want to have a conversation, if you just want to talk about life, music, I'm always open. I love it. I love what I do. I obviously I gotta work 9 to 5 every day to keep paying my bills, but this is what I love to do. Music is my true passion. Um, so whoever wants to talk about music, features, whatever the case may be, I'm always available, and I have an open
That's
door
awesome. Well,
policy for
thank
everybody.
you so much. Yeah, I come to LA pretty often. So I'm gonna hit you up before when I head out there next time. I
Where
live in
where where
Phoenix,
you at
Arizona.
right
So I'm
now?
in Arizona. Yeah. Yes.
Oh, you're in Fin. Are you
Born
a
and
Suns
raised.
fan?
Yeah. It's
You're a
hard.
Suns
It's
fan?
hard to be
Okay, all right.
it's hard to be a
I'll
Suns
forgive
fan,
you. I'll
but
forgive you.
I love them. I'm a Mercury fan too. A Suns fan and a
That's
Phoenix
awesome.
Mercury fan too.
I'm always gonna be a Bulls fan, but I respect what you guys are
Awesome.
doing
Well,
down
we'll
there in
have
Arizona.
to
I
find
respect it.
time to get you out here for a show because I'd love to see you live. Um, but yeah, thank you again so much for hanging out and spending the evening with me. And yeah, keep me
Of
posted. If I
course.
can be a resource in any way, let me know. I
Thank
will, for
you, and
sure.
the same here. Like my door's
Cool.
always open, so whatever you need,
Awesome. Well,
we're
thank you
always.
so much. Have a good night and sending you lots of fast love and funk from Phoenix. Have a good
Thank you so much, and thank you everybody that logged in. I really appreciate you all. This is what we're doing. What
Yeah,
we're
thank
doing.
you. Have a good
So
night. We'll talk to
yeah.
you soon. Bye.
Bye bye.
Awesome. Thank you all so much for tuning in to my interview with the Color Brown. I had such an amazing time talking to him. If you haven't, check out his latest single, Guao. It's on all streaming platforms. I'll be sure to tag him. I hope y'all have a beautiful night. Sending you all fast love and funk.